to be any little thing that we want to be. No matter what comes our way, we'll be together, together.
Welcome to Homeschooling Down South. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Kat. We're two Southern homeschooling mamas sharing real talk, resources, and inspiration for life and learning in the Southeast.
Each week, it's summer, y'all, and we're breaking the rules and shaking things up a little bit.
That's right. We're right here in your feed each week, but our summer season has a different flavor.
So whether you're listening on summer vacation or chilling by the pool, we are sharing homeschooling conversations to refresh and inspire.
Pull up a chair and join us as we keep celebrating the joy, freedom, and community of homeschooling down south, summer style.
Welcome back, y'all. This is another episode in our homeschool conference mini-series. Today, we get to share with you about our experience at Teach Them Diligently. And as of the time of recording, we've only been back for 2 days. So this is very fresh.
It's very
and
fresh.
We are still very tired.
Yes, still very tired, but had the best time in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's the one we went to. There is also, in 2026, there is also one in Branson, Missouri. And those are the two Teach Them Diligently conventions in 2026. I know in the past there's been some other locations, so there may be again in the future. But we went to Pigeon Forge, and I mean, just we went to Pigeon Forge could be a fun episode in and of itself. Beyond the... And we went to the Teach Them Diligently conference.
Right.
It was a great time. This was my first time ever visiting Pigeon Forge. And you hadn't been there in a long time, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had been there as a kid, I think as a teen, maybe once or twice, but certainly not since they've done all of the things that they've done. I mean, it's insane how different it looks now and all that there is. And it was really cool to go without kids for the first time because they do have a lot of very kid-centric things. But it was really cool to go and kind of get my bearings without kids first.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
It made like a really fun girls trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like whatever you find to do in Pigeon Forge or not to do, if you just like sit outside and just enjoy, the mountains are all around you.
Gorgeous.
It's beautiful. The river is running right through town, right in front of the LeConte Event Center where the Teach Them Diligently conference is held. And so anytime that you're overwhelmed or hot or it's crowded, you step outside and there's the river.
Yeah.
There were geese everywhere with baby goslings all over the place, which made me a little anxious because geese can be really aggressive, but it's fine. They were really precious. And then there was a blue heron that kept visiting. Well, I say visiting me. I think it probably just
You
was
were
there.
visiting it.
It was visiting it. But every time I'd go outside there, it would be in the river and doing different things. And I was like, huh, yes, I'm not in a crowded space. I'm in this beautiful setting. Like
Yeah.
Pigeon Forge is just a beautiful place to be outside. But there's lots of fun stuff to do. And we did some of it.
We did. And one of the things that makes Teach Them Diligently a little bit different than some of the other conferences is they actually have a full day of workshops on Thursday, and the exhibit hall is not open until Thursday night. And so a lot of times, I know for me, when I'm planning out my schedule, I strive to not fill every hour with a workshop because I want to reserve some time for the exhibit hall. So it was kind of nice on Thursday to be able to, well, I'm going to find a workshop for every hour. But what that meant for us, because things started earlier in the morning, is that we actually drove up on Wednesday.
We got there before we could even check in, and we went and checked out this awesome thing that is within walking distance from the LeConte Event Center. It shares a parking lot, so you are already there. We went to the island, which is a multi-activity area. There's restaurants and shops, and there's a
Rides.
hotel, and yes. So we went on a ride.
We did. It was so fun. If you are familiar at all with the ride Soarin' at Disney World in Orlando, Florida, this ride is made by the same company. The ride is called Skyflight, and it's the same premise. You get in your seat and then your seats kinda lift up, so there's, like, 3 rows, and then all the rows are straight up and down, and you feel like you're flying over all these really cool places, and when you're over the ocean and a humpback whale sprays water, you get wet, and there's wind, and I laughed the whole time, it was so
Sh
fun.
She did, she giggled, and I had never been on a ride like this, but I've wanted to, and I was so excited. It was so much fun, and I cannot wait to take my son.
Oh my
It
gosh,
was
yes.
definitely hands down, like, there's lots of rides at the island, but this is the best one
Yes.
for sure. I mean, there's Ferris wheel, there's, like, spinny things, there's the drop.
This is a this is an audio medium, Cat. The listeners cannot see what you're doing with your hand. It's similar to the rides where they take you all the way to the top, and then they drop you, and then they bring you up a little bit, and then they drop you. That kind of ride.
Yeah, they had that, and so we got to check out the island, like, we walked around, we saw some shops, went and checked into our accommodations, and then went back and checked into the conference.
Mhm.
That's all you could do the first night was check into the conference and visit the Teach Them Diligently booth. But otherwise, the conference really kicked off on Thursday, like Kayla said, with that full day, a full day of workshops, no exhibit hall, except for the handful of exhibitors who were outside of the exhibit hall in the hallway.
Mhm.
So there were some folks that you could visit during that Thursday time. But yeah, mostly you're just like focused on the workshops. And then Thursday night, the exhibit hall opened with a kickoff right after the first keynote speaker, which we didn't attend any of the keynotes at this
Yeah.
conference, mostly because we, if you know us, we like to eat, and they were either at dinner time or breakfast time, and so
Yeah.
we were out, checking out. We checked out a couple really great restaurants in the Pigeon Forge and Sevierville area. But so then Friday and Saturday are full days of both workshops and exhibits. If you are not familiar with Teach Them Diligently, the organization, it's important to note because it really does stand out among the other conferences and conventions, at least in our area, that it's a faith based, and not just faith based, but faith forward
Yeah.
organization. And so, this entire convention, everybody that is presenting, everybody that is exhibiting is coming to the conference and sharing from a Christian worldview. And so, that does set this conference apart. It makes it unique because there's already been that vetting and discernment done by the event organizers, if that's something that is critical to you, which it is for both of us. So I didn't have to necessarily have my discernment hat on the whole weekend.
Yeah. Well, and I spoke with Leslie Nunnery. Her and her husband David are the ones that created Teach Them Diligently. And she said that, even the curriculum in the exhibit hall, the people who are selling curriculum have to be vetted. They have to sign a statement of faith and that their curriculum aligns with a biblical worldview. And so just taking that out of it, that like I don't have to ask about that because Leslie already has, was really, really nice.
Yeah. If you're a Christian homeschooler at a convention, a part of the mental load gets to just rest
Yeah.
because that piece has been done for you. You're not having to explore and dig and find out. So
Yeah.
that is it's an important thing to know about Teach Them Diligently, whether that would be important and valuable to you or not. Then that
Yeah.
would be what would help you decide if Teach Them Diligently was the right conference for you. It's really well organized, and it's in a beautiful space.
Yeah.
And we talked about this throughout the whole time. It felt a little different than some of the other like expo convention.
Yeah.
The content is a little bit more practical based and less soul filling,
Mhm.
but also just like the vibe.
It
Like,
felt like a retreat
yeah.
and that you're coming together half part retreat, part family reunion. Because you could tell there was a lot of people who come to this regularly, and they're seeing each other again, even the kids reuniting. It just felt, I don't know, it felt very inviting, and I think you said at one point, some convention halls can be a little bit sterile, and this just wasn't that.
So, like, part of it is the atmosphere that you're in, like, you're in this beautiful space. But then we met some people standing in line, and we were like, "Is this your first Teach Them Diligently?" And they were like, "Oh, no, we come every year." And it had that reunion,
Yeah.
almost like even has a summer campy kind of feel. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the outdoorsiness of Pigeon Forge and the beautiful surroundings because the LeConte Center feels like a lodge
Yeah.
in the mountains. I mean, it is a lodge, but it's not a lodge, but it has that same aesthetic.
Yeah.
And the sessions, while they are absolutely useful and can be applied, it's not like, how do you teach your child how to read? How do
Right.
you teach your child how to do math? It was much more about like getting at the soul, at the heart of these things that happen in our homeschools. And even the ones that were like subject based were sort of presented in a more fun and informative and less prescriptive.
Right.
Like, this is how you should do this in your homeschool, and more like, this is why you should teach these things in your homeschool. I've been to the Wild and Free conference, and there will also be an episode about my experiences there. And that doesn't feel like any of the other homeschool conferences or conventions that I've been to. That doesn't even have breakout workshops or exhibit halls. That is full on retreat feeling, but with 1,000 people. And this felt like if you took that very conventional expo convention model and married it with that full on just retreat and all of it being about soul fulfilling, and you married them, you would get the vibe of Teach Them Diligently.
Yeah. And I will say, just because I always like to let all my military families know, they do offer a military discount. You can email them and they'll provide you with the code. So definitely, if that applies to you, check that out because that does help to make it a little bit more affordable. And it was a little more than Great Homeschool, but I now understand why. I
Yeah.
mean, the exhibit hall was massive and the workshops, one, there was a lot more because you have that whole
Yeah.
extra day, but I also felt like they were pretty meaty.
Yeah. Very meaty. Yeah. So let's start with the exhibit hall. What excited you most in the exhibit hall at Teach Them Diligently?
Okay, well, the main thing that excited me was this company called Made Makers, and they were one of the first booths that we stopped at, and they had this big orange tent and this really cool setup, and it's a bunch of homeschooled dads who are in the design space, and they're seeing that there's a lack of Christian influence in this space. And so they have created this whole curriculum, and I believe it's K-12, and their vision, I'll read their vision statement because I don't want to butcher it. It says, Made Makers Christian Art and Design Education envisions generations of Christian makers who use the creative gifts that God has given them to profoundly impact culture and society for generations to come under the lordship of Christ. And it's really, really cool. They have all these different facets of the curriculum. You know, there's obviously the lesson, but then there's implementation, and then there's, like, games they can play. There's, like, a race against the clock with this little character they've created, and one of the things he said to us was, "We're not going to see the effects of this in our generation, but we are planting the seeds. We are providing the building blocks so that the next generation or the generation after that, they're the ones that are going to be making the impact that we're building for." And I've said it so many times. My daughter is artistic and she loves it, and I am not, and I don't.
Oh,
And so I have to be extremely intentional about making sure that she has an avenue for that. And this, I mean, I think I told you in the moment, but I at several points almost started crying because I was just so grateful for what they're doing. And so that for sure, I mean, there were so many other really cool places that we visited, like the Mystery of History one, definitely a highlight. But this one, the Made Makers, this one is going to make the biggest impact on my homeschool.
I have stood alongside you at a lot of different exhibitors, at many conferences and conventions, as you're on this search for something for your daughter to cultivate her natural skill and interest in art. And one, I don't think I've ever seen you so emotional about it. But two, the other thing that really struck me was you got excited about it for your son too. This is
Yeah.
the first time I've seen you get excited that there would be something in this one product
Yep.
that would meet his artistic needs as well.
Yeah.
And I was really excited for you. And here's my question. They were giving out there were not a lot of giveaways, give tchotchke type
Tchotchke.
swags at this convention, but they had one and it was a cape for kids. And here's my question. Do your kids love their capes?
Are those capes in the living room currently because they just took them off to eat a snack? Yes. They have worn them they have been out and been worn every day since I've been home, and they have also spawned a new thing that, like, even our stuffed animals need capes, so we've been using bandanas to create capes for our stuffed animals as well.
Yes, I love it. Today we did school in our cape
Yeah,
at our house.
I love it.
We were a superhero
Yeah,
learning, and we had to position ourselves in a way that the cape was, just right. And
yeah.
the cape has also already got mud stains because there's been running around in the yard being a superhero. Also, lots of sitting on the swing with the cape behind and
Yeah.
swinging so that the cape flies out behind him. Yeah, the cape. That's a great
Yeah,
swag.
yeah, because it engaged the kids wanted the capes,
Yeah.
they even had, like, a cornhole thing set up, but I will say it was very affordable. It came out to, like, $10 a month. I purchased the whole year. It's, like, $10 a month, and you can have up to 5 students, 5 student accounts. That is a deal. So, with my 2 kids, it comes out to $5 a month. You can't beat that. They were amazing. They were without a doubt the highlight. So, do you have an expo hall highlight?
This expo hall is so different than any I've been
Yeah.
in before because it's not as curriculum forward.
Right.
It was much more support, curriculum adjacent resources, things for you too to
Yeah.
pour into you. Homeworks was there. I was all set, but Nature's Workshop was also there, which means I bought things
Yeah.
because I can't stop
It's what you
myself
do.
from shopping. It's what I do. That's what I do at conferences. I shop at Nature's Workshop. I'm surprised they don't see me coming. Like, oh, here she comes. But at this one, they had a book that I don't know that I've seen before. And it was about how the fireflies in Elkmont at Smoky Mountain National Park were discovered. I had said I'm not going to buy anything from Nature's Workshop here. One, I just bought things from them at Great Homeschool Convention. And two, I'm going to see them in a few months at Southeast Homeschool Expo. I'm not buying things from them in Pigeon Forge. But then there was this book and it drew me
So you
in.
had to
So
buy it.
that's how I bought. It was my gateway. I bought like all kinds of other things because of this book, but we have read it every day since I've been home. And it is a beautiful book, and it's a great book for kids because it tells the story of a woman who she was out enjoying the fireflies, and she observed that they were synchronizing and thought surely scientists have studied this, and they hadn't. The scientists didn't even know about it, and it was because of this woman who their family had a cabin in Elkmont that the scientists even know about the synchronous fireflies in Smoky Mountains National Park. And if you're a listener of the podcast, you know we did a whole episode about my family's trip to go see the synchronous fireflies in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So that was a sweet find in the exhibit space. The other really special moment for me was I got to visit the Peaceful Press booth, and that's Jennifer Pepito's curriculum. She's an author and a homeschool mom who speaks. I've seen her speak at the Wild and Free conference several times, but that is so large, you don't really get an opportunity to say hello to the folks who speak. And so I've used her curriculum. A lot of her curriculum is for the younger years. And I will say, you just see so often people asking for a preschool curriculum. And I'm like, don't spend a ton of money. And she has these really beautiful things that you can use in your home that are really gentle and precious for those ages. And I did use some of those and I've read all her books. And so it was really nice to get to meet her, to thank her, to have her sign a book. So that was just a personally special opportunity, and I was really glad that I got to do that. That was
Yeah,
probably the
that's
highlight,
awesome.
besides spending all my money at Nature's Workshop.
Right. Okay, but honorable mention, we have to talk about Mystery of History because that was such a cool
Yes.
experience. She was
Yes.
dressed up as Marie Antoinette, and she is Linda Hobart. She is the author of this Christ-centered history curriculum, and she was just so fun. And Kat,
So
you
fun.
you noticed there were students coming up and hugging her and wanting to take pictures with her because they had been through her curriculum, which her curriculum was amazing, but it was so fun to see her set up. Her and her husband were all in costume, and her husband
Gosh.
was totally in character the whole time.
Her husband might have been more in character than she was. He was so committed. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually noticed that with a couple of the curriculum because they were smaller and they were more not these large curriculum creators, but these very niche curriculum creators. But that, and this is a good way to talk about families that teach them diligently. We can segue into that. But a lot of people, a lot of the teenagers were wanting to go up to Linda Hobart or go up to Mike Snavely, who is Ranger Mike, and have their picture made with them because they've been doing their curriculum or just get to thank them and talk to them because they've had an impact on their learning. And it was really precious to see. At Teach Them Diligently, there is a teen track. So there were teens there. And I would say it's a pretty formalized teen track. I didn't
Yeah.
see a lot of teens in many of the general sessions, although I did in one, but they have like kind of their own track. And there is also an adjacent kids program. And we didn't bring our children, so we don't know for sure. But we think it would maybe was only for Friday, Saturday. It seemed
Yeah.
like
I
it
feel
was
very
not
confident
happening
about
on
that.
Thursday. Yeah. So Teach Them Diligently is another one that you can buy an individual pass to come, or you can buy a family pass and then you can add on the kids programming. There's also the opportunity to buy a single day pass for either Friday or Saturday, and there's the opportunity to buy a shopping pass. So if you're not interested in going to the whole, we had a friend who actually, hey, Lindsay, we had a friend who came for just Saturday.
Yeah.
So that is an option as well. Yeah, but it's that exhibit hall was
Huge.
huge, but really, like, really interestingly laid out.
Yeah, it didn't ever feel like I was, like, shoulder to shoulder with people except for that initial, like, walking through that first part, and I felt like I could see everything well. Like, I could be on the
Yes.
far end and look over to the other end, and I could still kinda tell where everything was.
Yes.
I will say this, I have not been to Wild and Free, and I have not been to Charlotte Mason, but of the conferences that I have been to, I feel like Teach Them Diligently is the most well managed in the sense that they offer you that option to come in on Wednesday night and check in so that Thursday morning you are ready to go. We haven't talked about it yet, but they have an app which was so helpful in building. You
The
can see
app.
the whole event schedule, but then you can add workshops to your personal schedule. So all you have to do is click my schedule and then you can see what you have next and you can put multiple things under 1 hour. Like if you're interested in a couple workshops, select them all, and then they're there so that in real time you can decide what you wanna do. And just a little surprise tip, I discovered today after I got an email, and I was like, "Oh, I don't think I attended this session. Why am I getting this email?" I put it on my schedule as one that I was interested in going in, and because I did that, it shared my info with them, so I got the email with the notes from the presentation. That was so cool. I was like, "Oh, this is great, then I still get some of the info." So, I really
Yeah.
like how it's managed and how they've kinda streamlined things to make it easier on the attendee.
Yeah. The app is a game changer because, one, it just was so much easier than feeling flustered flipping through the program. And the program's not a bad thing, but also the program can become out of date because they have to print it in
Right.
advance. So everything in the app is up to date. If a location has changed, if a speaker has changed, if they have changed their topic, that is all in the app. There was also the exhibit hall map.
Mhm.
There was the venue map in the app. There was an area where the conference organizers could make announcements to everyone in the app, which is super helpful. And there was even an area where conference attendees could be having a conversation. So the app was a game changer to
Yeah.
me for attending a conference. It just made things a lot easier. It was easier than pulling my conference program in and out of my bag the whole day. I just had it right there on my phone. If I got interested in a different session, I could just add it to my schedule and take away the other one. And yeah, I loved the app.
And I want to be clear that I am not disparaging any other conference because they all
Right.
have their place and they all have wonderful things about them. I just really enjoyed how this one was managed, and they had a mom's night on Friday that was free. You had to register, but it was free. And then they had a men's breakfast the following morning. So there's like something for each. And the mom's night was so fun. It was so fun.
The mom's night was great. There were games and silliness and just
Yeah.
laughter that I
Yeah.
feel like we all need. There was worship led
Yeah.
by a local homeschool co-op, the kids in a local homeschool
Yeah.
co-op called Kingdom Culture. They're right there in Pigeon Forge, and that was really precious and sweet. Leslie Nunnery gave just kind of a not I don't even wanna say a speech,
It was like a
but just
devotion.
like a message. Yeah, a message of encouragement to us in what we're doing, and that it can feel ordinary and mundane, but to think about the ripple effect impact that it can have. And we prayed over each other, and we all got some sweet giveaways. Mama Bear Apologetics gave every single mom who came to that mom night a prayer book.
Yeah. So
So
sweet.
it was, yeah, that was really sweet. Do you have a couple sessions that you went to that were highlights for you?
Yeah, I do. So, and I'm going to give a disclaimer right here. The session that I went to that was my top session addressed how we talk to our children about the birds and the bees. I'm not going to get into the weeds of it, but if you feel the need to skip ahead, if you're listening with a kiddo and want to skip ahead a couple and come back later when you're by yourself, that's fine. But the session was called Why Homeschool Kids Need to Learn About Sex at an Early Age. And the speaker was Elizabeth Urbanowitz, and she's with Foundation Worldview. I have never, that's a lie. I am not going to say never, but I I have a hard time recalling a session that has empowered me so much. I feel like I was given
Mm,
such practical tools, and not just given the tools, but told why I needed to use them and why I needed to use them now. And she just was so, so, so good, and we are gonna chat with her on the podcast in season 2, so make sure to tune into that episode. But she is so gifted at speaking, and she's so intelligent. I looked around at one point, and all of us were sitting there either, like, ferociously writing in our notebooks or taking notes on our phone. Everyone was consuming as much as they could because it was so, so good and really helpful about this topic that it's like, when do I have this conversation? How do I have this conversation? How do I not be weird about it? That one was so, so helpful. But the other one that really, really stuck with me, I got to hear Dr. Kathy Koch speak. I was like 4 rows from the front. And, I've read her books, I've listened to them. So I've heard her voice. And it's like, "Oh, no, she's right here in front of my face." And it was
yeah.
on focusing children's thinking, and she's wildly intelligent, so that one was gonna be incredible.
Yes. I went to one with Dr. Kathy as well, and she ran over a little bit, and she was like, "I'm sorry." And I'm like, "Don't be. Please
Mhm.
keep talking. I wanna hear everything you have to say."
Yeah.
She's really good at cutting around all the extra and just getting to the heart of it, the
Yeah.
meat of it, and in a way you just really need to hear it, but it feels like you're not being beat up.
Yeah.
You're being encouraged and told, "It's okay, but you gotta get on this." I went to one about digital dilemma, 12 practical ways to guard hearts in a tech-heavy world,
Mm.
and it was great. But my highlight was probably a session that Linda Hobar did called Mary and Martha Decide to Homeschool. And it was both funny and engaging, but also just really good for the heart. We did some theology. We learned the Mary and Martha story a little bit differently than I've ever heard it before. I've always heard it as, okay, everybody needs to stop being anxious and go sit at the feet of Jesus and be like Mary. And she didn't have that take
Yeah.
on it. She had the take that Jesus loved Mary and Martha both, and they both bring something important to the table. And if you are a Martha, be a Martha. And if you are a Mary, be a Mary. And if you are a mix, then embrace those things. And then just gave some tips for if you lean one way or the other, how you might make your homeschool feel a little bit more successful. And I not an extreme exaggeration, but she gave us a quiz and I lean a little towards Mary and she gave me a tip and I did it today. It's my first day. It's my first day doing it. That seems ridiculous, but that would change your homeschool day. And I think it will. She said, just defrost the meat.
I was gonna ask
Just
you
defrost
earlier
the
when we
meat.
first hopped on if you defrosted your meat, because let me tell you, you shared that with me, and so before we hopped on to record today, I was like, "No, priority, I need to defrost the meat," and so I have a pack of chicken defrosting in my sink.
I still have no idea what I'm making, but I have a pound of ground beef defrosted in the fridge. And that's the thing. She and I were talking about it afterwards. I can make a million things with this
Yeah,
but the decision to like which meat to get out and defrost and to start defrosting it at 5 p.m.
yeah,
I defrosted it at 8:30 this morning. Thank you very much, Linda Hobart. My day feels already better.
I love
But
it.
there were obviously other things that she suggested for both the Marys and the Marthas, but it was a really encouraging session, and I think that I would say that about most of the sessions I went to is that they just were very encouraging,
Mhm.
and there's still hope. If
Yeah,
something has gone kinda off the rails in your homeschool, that's fine. You're gonna go talk to Jesus, and you're gonna put it back on the rails.
yeah, yeah,
It's gonna be okay.
yeah, I will say I feel like, they were all very soul nourishing, you know?
Yes.
And so many of them started with prayer and included scripture to back up their bullet points. It was just such a different experience in a really good way.
And Teach Them Diligently has a membership platform called TTD 365. And they had a special lounge area for their TTD 365 members, which was a really sweet touch for those folks. And you could tell people who are in community digitally all around the country, they were coming together in person at the convention in this space. And that was really sweet to watch. We're gonna have Leslie on the podcast, and I'm sure she will talk all about the details, but relating specifically to the convention, TTD 365 members get access to all of the conference recordings from the conference they attended, but also from every conference in the past and in the future,
Yeah,
which
and
is
I
huge.
just found out that today. I did not realize, and I went in to see if the ones from this year had been uploaded because I have so many that I want my husband to listen to. And I was just like, wait a second. Not only are we going to have access to this year's, but we have access to both the Branson and the Pigeon Forge conference from years past, which was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be listening to these recordings
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. So we were so impressed with it that we
Yeah.
joined at the conference, which there was a conference
Rate.
deal, right, for joining TTD 365, a conference rate, yes. So, yeah, it's just there's lots there to check out, and if you find yourself thinking, "This conference sounds great, but I would never be able to attend it. I can't foresee that happening," then maybe think about the TTD
Yeah.
365 because every single session is recorded and available. And I've been to conferences before where some sessions are recorded. It's not even all of them. So there's some conventions where they're all recorded and you can buy them separately. And I've been to conventions where just sort of the top speakers, their sessions are recorded, but not the folks who you might not know and who aren't the big names. But here it's everybody. So cool.
Well, and for me, having those recordings available alone is worth the money to join TTD 365. But there's also a community component of it. They have different message boards. So there's one, I'm new to TTD 365. You introduce yourself, whatever. They do Bible studies, they do retreats. I mean, there is so much. It's well worth the money to join this because there's so many things offered through the program.
Yeah, we were just interested in joining for the recordings, and then we found
Yeah.
out how much more there is. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great time. We're
It was a
tired, but it was
wonderful
worth
time.
it.
Yeah. So what is one piece of advice that you would give someone who's attending for the first time?
I think my piece of advice, if you can, would be go to the whole 3 days. The great thing about the schedule is there's shopping breaks. There's on Friday and Saturday, there were good lunch and dinner breaks. Not as much on Thursday because it's just jam packed, but just being spread out over 3 days gives you a chance to not feel rushed, to really saturate, to
Wow.
take a break during one of the sessions, not to go into the exhibit hall, but to go sit outside and process and marinate. And there's just so much to do in Pigeon Forge. If the way that you're going to be able to go for 3 days is to make it a family trip, your kids are going to have a blast. There's putt putt, there's the island. There were other areas that had rides and restaurants and shops. There's pools. And so make it the whole 3 days. How about you? What's a piece of advice that you would give?
I think I have a practical piece. I would give a practical piece and then like more of just a aesthetic or a vibe piece. Practically, anyone who knows me knows I am a foodie and anytime we travel, I'm like, cool, where are we eating? And I did not know prior to going to this that the island was right there in the parking lot. And there's a tram that runs around. So you can hop on that. And Thursday, there was not a whole lot of time for lunch. So I would suggest bringing something in a cooler that you can keep in the car, grab and eat really quick. But then just knowing that you have those options right there at the island. We went to some different places outside of that area too. But I think being prepared specifically for Thursday that you're not going to have
Mhm.
this. If you want to attend these sessions, you got to figure out a way to squeeze in some lunch. And they do have little concession stands in there, but it's nothing that you or I can eat.
But
So you
yep,
gotta make do. And then I do think that the checking in on Wednesday night, taking advantage of that early check-in was the right choice without a doubt, so that we weren't
agree.
trying to do that Thursday morning while also trying to get to our first session.
Yeah.
So that's my practical pieces of advice. But then I think just overall, I just think come with an open mind. If this is your first time, don't expect to walk into the same old homeschool conferences that you've been to and make some connections. There were some exhibitors who were praying over people at their booth. Be vulnerable and be participatory
Yeah.
to take full
Yeah.
advantage of it.
I think I have another piece of advice. Moms, go to the mom night. Dads, go to
Yes.
the men's breakfast. Take that time that is set aside for you at this convention, that is just for you to pour back into you, to refresh your soul. Take that time. Don't worry, especially if you're like traveling with your family. They'll be fine for 2 hours, or you'll be fine for 2 hours while your spouse goes to their thing. Like, go and let them pour into you.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I would even take it a step further and say, if at all possible, for your first time, go without kids because this is more than just a homeschool
Yeah.
conference. It was your well was getting filled constantly. And there were moms who were having to leave sessions early because they had a crying child. Or there were some of the older kids who could sit quietly and whatever. But we know as moms, if your kids are present, your attention is divided. And so I would say just one time, go without your
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
and just be ministered
For
to.
this one. Yeah. 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 And let people pray over you and let people
Yeah,
hear your story and yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Without you feeling like you have to like restrict what you're saying. Like just say what
yeah.
you need to say to the person who wants to pray over you. Yeah. Yeah. It was great. Do you have a win?
I mean, I think the win is very easily finding the Made Makers program for my kids. That was just amazing, and I had never seen them before, and also we made a great connection with them. They're gonna be on the podcast. We made so many amazing connections with people that we have
Yeah.
never been exposed to before, and now we're gonna get to have these great
Yeah.
conversations, and so I have this personal win for my own homeschool, but for the podcast, what amazing connections to make and beautiful relationships to build. I'm really excited about that. What about
Yeah.
you?
Oh gosh, I have so many. I mean, just Skyfly.
Yes, Skyflight
I
was
finally got to
amazing.
go. It was so fun. And it just felt good to go do something fun and silly and playful. Just
Yeah.
us. It was really cool. I also feel like a win was just all the ways that I was met with an issue I'm facing in my homeschool a heart issue, not a curriculum issue or a teaching issue, a heart issue that I was facing in my homeschool or in myself or in just my home, my parenting that was met there. That was definitely a win. How many times I kept encountering just what I needed to hear or the assurance that I was on the right track or here's the correction. Here's the life-giving, loving correction that I need, correction to me so that I can give life-giving, loving corrections to my child. All of those were so good, the times that people prayed over me. And then also, I echo that we just met some really cool new folks. We met lots of surprises in the exhibit hall that we can't wait to introduce to you on the podcast. I came home and I told my husband it was a really successful trip for the podcast. It was a really successful trip for our home and homeschool. And it was also just a really successful trip as a mom going away with her friend. It, like,
Yeah.
checked all those boxes with, like, a giant like, the thick Sharpie, you know? It
Yeah.
checked those boxes, all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and the sky flight, I know we've been joking about it, but that set the tone for the trip because we walked into the island, we looked
Yeah.
around, and then I was like, "Wait, there's something that says flight. What is that about?" And we walked in, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, is this like Soarin'?" And you were like, "Well, I don't do you wanna do it?" And I was like, "Yes, let's do it." And it was so spontaneous, and we just did it
Yeah.
and had so much fun, and that totally set the tone for the whole weekend, and I want that for all the moms. Yes, go to the homeschool conference, but make it fun too. Go have some fun. You deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah. And have some fun with a friend. We both have been really inspired by the people on the podcast over the last year who have encouraged us to play, whether they've said it that directly, like Kathy Eggers did, or it's been more of like a subtle undertone. It's a conversation we've been having in our local community about moms playing, not playing with their kids, but playing themselves and playing with their friends. And I feel like we really did that. And it was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. It was
Yeah. Oh,
awesome.
and the Great Blue Heron. He's my other one, my
Oh,
friend.
I love it. I
I
love
miss
it.
him already.
Well, Kat, when we're not going off on fun girls trips, where can people find you?
I'm at Recreating Camp on Instagram and Facebook. And Kayla, where can they find you?
You can find me at scratchmadesimple underscore on Instagram and at scratchmadesimple on TikTok. And you can find us on all the socials at Homeschooling Down South. We would love to hear if you have been to an amazing homeschool conference, or even if you've been to teach them diligently and want to share your experience. We would love to hear from you. You can email us at hello@homeschoolingdownsouth.com. We would love for you to rate our show wherever you're listening and share this episode with a friend and maybe make plans to attend Teach Them Diligently in Pigeon Forge next year. And if you do, we'll see you there.
Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
And we'll love together, we'll learn together, explore this whole wide world together. No matter where we are.